It opened, as do so many films nowadays, on Wednesday. We get lots of correspondence, people saying, why does a film open on Wednesday? It's a very simple box office reason, because if a film opens on Wednesday, indeed even if it opens on Tuesday, essentially everything that it takes up until there's a cut-off point is on Sunday, isn't it? All contributes to the opening weekend, despite the fact that Wednesday is demonstrably not the weekend. So effectively what it means is you get 5 days box office for what, when you're competing against other titles have 2 days box office. So that's why if something previews on a Wednesday, it's a box office trick. It's now a well-respected box office trick, but that's what it is. So Oblivion from Joseph Kosinski, who of course previously did Tron Legacy, which I didn't like at all. And I should say at the beginning of this that in the same way as I said before, Harmony Korine's best film sounds like damning with faint praise. To say that I like this more than Tron Legacy sounds like the same thing, but I do like this an awful lot more than Tron Legacy. So set in 2077, 60 years after apparently aliens have devastated the Earth by smashing up the moon. As you know, if the moon is destroyed, it messes up the tides and the earthquakes. So basically they've destroyed the moon, and this has caused Earth to be completely ravaged, killed the planet. Now down on Earth we have the last remnants of humanity. Most of humanity have headed off to Titan, very, very distant moon. Down on Earth, we're introduced to two characters played by Tom Cruise and Andrea Riseborough, who are Jack and Victoria, living together in what appears to be this very lonely, isolated bubble almost above the cloud line. It is a house in the sky. His job is to tour around and fix the drones which protect these huge great turbines which are sucking up the ocean and turning the ocean into power, which is being used for the mission to forward humanity's journey on towards Titan. They are at the very, very end of their mission, and very soon they shall stop, and they indeed shall abandon Earth and head off to Titan, although Tom Cruise himself is starting to have doubts about it, has particular doubts about it, when a spaceship crashes on the Earth, having been apparently brought down by these sort of rebels who we see very, very early on. There is a sort of rebel outcrop. We're led to believe that they're aliens, although it's very apparent from the beginning that they are something other than they appear to be. They have brought down this spaceship. In it are a bunch of hibernation capsules, and in one of the hibernation capsules is a woman about whom Tom thinks he's been dreaming all his life. Here's a clip.
I want to go on first thing.
Pika, do you have any memories before the mission? Before the security went?
Our job is not to remember. Remember?
Do you remember her?
Jack, that was a scav, a beacon that brought her down. We don't know who she is or what she is.
So the setup is now we have three characters. We have Tom Cruise's character, we have Andrea Riseborough's character, and now we have this woman who has dropped out of the sky, Olga Kurylenko, who has basically been haunting Tom Cruise's dreams up until now. And it is apparent the minute she turns up that clearly something other than what he remembers is going on, and as was explained in that clip, they've all had their memories wiped so that in case they get captured by the scavs, this sort of last remaining alien outcrop on Earth, although nobody's quite sure what they're doing there. They don't want to have don't want to be able to be interrogated, so they can give away the secrets of humanity's mission to Titan. So the first thing to say about the film is it looks very good. I mean, it's a very, very good looking film. Its primary palette is green and blue and white. It's clean lines. Everyone in the future, despite the apocalypse or post-apocalyptic setting, as we're not allowed to say now because as we keep being told, there's no such thing as post-apocalypse. The few people who are around dress very well, and clearly everything is cut with very, very clean fashion designer lines. And actually the movie is, it is a very, very good-looking movie. It also is a movie which clearly not only nods its head towards other movies, but absolutely sucks its ideas up from such a wide plethora of movies that you almost end up playing spot the movie reference. So as soon as you get into the area of central characters have had their memories wiped, think, okay, fine, so we're in Total Recall, Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep mode. You're also in the mode of all those other things like Vanilla Sky. There's an element of Brazil in that thing about dreaming about a woman who you then meet who doesn't know you but does know you. There's a little bit of artificial intelligence in there. There's some Planet of the Apes references sequences which are quite clear. There's one sequence in which it appears to be doing a dogfight from Star Wars, although actually it's almost closer to being the pod racing sequence from The Phantom Menace. There are shades of WALL-E, which pretty much every review has picked up on. Some people have said that this is the live action version of WALL-E, although interestingly enough, WALL-E has an awful lot of humor, and the whole thing about WALL-E referring to musicals and that sort of thing. The one thing that this doesn't have is humor. It is a surprisingly humorless film. It is a film that is played very, very straight. At its best, it works as a kind of strange, very, very handsomely mounted three-handed drama. I mean, at the beginning, when you have Tom Cruise's character and Andrea Riseborough's character, and they have this strange, not quite resolved relationship. They're living together, but there is something that's odd about it, which is basically his memory. And the only contact they have with the outside world is Melissa Leo, who she's effectively playing. Some people have compared her character to Hal. She's the voice of authority, although actually her character is closer to the Kevin Spacey character from Moon, which is another film which this owes something of a debt to, along with Silent Running and Soylent Green and all those other 70s films, 70s sci-fi movies starting with the letter S. So when it is about those characters, that's like a three-handed character drama, it kind of works. In fact, when the mysterious woman falls out of the sky and it becomes a four-handed drama, then again it still kind of works as the three main characters, and then there's the Melissa Leo character who is, just this face on a TV. All that works fine. The point at which it starts to lose its way is when we get down onto the earth and we start involving ourselves with the scavs, and the whole thing then turns into much more like the sort of plethora of, like the Will Smith star-led science fiction movie in which Will Smith's name is the big thing, and everything that's going on in the backdrop seems to be just a backdrop to the fact that you've got a star and then we've got some sort of very expensive backdrop for them. And Jack Warner used to have this rule that he could judge how well a film was working by how many times he had to go to the loo. And when I was watching this, and I saw it in the first screening on Wednesday, the ordinary screening, and at one point I thought, I need to go to the men's room. It's okay because we must be nearly at the end now, because I know that the film is the best part of 2 hours long. We must have been here for nearly 2 hours. And I looked at my watch, which I very rarely do, and actually we weren't. It was an hour. The film was taking an awfully long time. Now that's not to say that I was bored. I hadn't been bored up until that point, because whilst it was playing as this odd character drama with this huge, great big, good-looking backdrop, I thought it was getting away with it. But there was another hour of the film to go, and it is undoubtedly the case that it is long as an experience to watch the movie. It plays rather long. The other thing is that I saw it with a 12-year-old who had also seen The Host, and for all the things that were wrong with The Host, had been engaged with the characters and liked the characters and cared about the characters and was upset when the characters were in danger and pleased when the characters were. And the one thing that he wasn't was engaged. And the other thing was that he said, he used the word cliche. I said afterwards, what did you think wasn't right with it? And he said, well, I thought it was cliched. I've seen those ideas before. Now, if you get to a point when a 12-year-old is referring to a film as being cliched, that is a problem. I mean, I wondered at one point whether it's just that, if
not your average 12-year-old though, Mark.
No, but that's not experience in which I was alone, Simon, because you had a similar conversation with somebody that, when you described the plot to them, another 12-year-old, and they said, yeah, well, it sounds like a cliche.
Well, this random 12-year-old is my son Joe's 13, obviously, which you don't. Yes, so
yeah, my random 12-year-old is my son. Yeah,
our offspring have spotted a cliche-riddled film, and they know that when they see it. And I think, this is the game that everyone else is playing, and all the emails, they're all ticking off the movies exactly the same as you did.
Oh, fine. Okay. And were there several that we missed out?
Marge Gunderson says they are as follows: The Matrix, Moon, Dark Star, Star Wars Episode 4, Star Wars Phantom Menace, Planet of the Apes, Space Odyssey 2001, English Patient, RoboCop, Looper, and Terrorhawks.
Okay, fine. Terrorhawks I didn't get, but yeah, actually now you mention it, yes, of course, yeah, fine. Okay.
This from Simon Sharp: caught Oblivion last night at my local purveyor of popcorn. Director Kaczynski has thrown Prometheus, Moon, Matrix, and Mad Max. It's a very Promethean waterfall sequence, I think.
That's there is,
and Mad Max into the washing machine and let the colours run. What's come out afterwards is a garment which is original, nice to look at, but doesn't quite fit anymore. I got the impression that the director had a grand vision for how the film should look, but to justify the budget, he had to miscast Cruise, a pointless Freeman, and insert expensive action sequences. The other problem with Cruise is having to endure the sight of a 50-year-old man running around with women half his age. When I'm watching post-apocalyptic action, I don't want to be distracted by 21st century Hollywood sexism.
Well, can I just say...
No, you can't, not just yet.
Oh, sorry.
It's interesting enough and has enough new ideas to keep it going. I don't think he's got any new ideas at all, actually, but anyway, keep it going for most of the running time. If this had been 90 minutes, made for half the budget and a more interesting actor, it could have been a Moon-style triumph rather than the solid 3-star film that it is. It looks stunning, but the sacrifice he's made to have his seemingly Apple-designed technology brought to life wasn't worth it. And a PS from Simon Sharp. I appreciate that my washing machine analogy at the beginning doesn't really work, as your clothes don't melt together to create a single garment. But since Mark is regularly referring to slot A fitting into tab B,
yeah.
I feel this lack of logic is in keeping with the show.
Well, can I just say on that subject, for me, all the scenes that work best, and as I said, I like it best when it's a small character drama that just happens to have a massive backdrop behind it. But the scenes that work best are Andrea Riseborough, who is terrific, talking on the video phone to Melissa Leo, who is playing, as I said, this character, this kind of face of authority character, who for me is closer to Kevin Spacey in Moon than she is to Hal in 2001, although that's the reference that's been made. And obviously, he's not a computer, but is that sort of strange, disembodied voice of authority. And actually, the scenes between Andrea Riseborough and Melissa Leo are terrific, and they work really, really well. And Tom Cruise kind of, works round them, but for me, they were the centre of the film. And I'd almost want the film to be about those. So this is the phenomenon that Kim Newman often refers to, of watching a film and thinking it's great. I wish it was about those people rather than the one that we're actually interested in. And when it then gets down to ground level and then becomes much more of a Tom Cruise action movie. Oh, also Independence Day, incidentally, and is obviously you spotted this yourself. There's a whole conclusion of Independence Day. I like the film about Andrea Riseborough's character being on the video phone to Melissa Leo, and I'm perfectly fine with the thing about Tom Cruise coming in and out of that. When it gets off that and gets into all the rest of it, and that was an interesting point about obviously the budget, just really you have to widen it out, it does then lose its way. And there's no two ways about it. It is cliched, and it is clearly draggy, in as much, I don't mean draggy as in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. I mean draggy as in, have I really only been here for an hour?